All right, so here is a outline of the process of creating a farm in 3 months, basically starting from scratch. I came here, we didn't really start working until September, and we didn't have much to um, use, so we had to order a lot of things when I got here, and all those things took time to arrive, so that was something we had to contend with. I wanted to kind of start from scratch and make things really tight-knit. So I created a general design and we kind of based it loosely off of that, but I knew all along the way things will be constantly changing as we go, and each step of the process you discover new things that you hadn't realized. So the circumstance here is it's a community that ranges anywhere from 15 to 20 people at a time. They're trying to be more self-sufficient. They have solar power, they have cows, which they will never slaughter, they're protected, and they also get milk from them. There's a vegan food business here, and they kind of have this mindset of preparing for some kind of social collapse. So we got here and we started working in September. Immediately we were starting maybe 1,500 plants in trays. We, in the meantime, because we had to wait for all this stuff to get here, I just brought the seeds and tools that I had. We started moving the earth around, we worked up the soil, we added loads and loads of free wood chip mulch from the city, and we added a bunch of cow manure from the herd here. We actually didn't get the greenhouses until November, so we went through a couple unexpected frosts, which killed a decent amount of our plants. In September here, it can still hit 110 degrees in the daytime, so it was hard to get a lot of plants in the ground. We had to use these temporary tunnels with shade cloth over them, which protected the plants in the middle of the day. So we were just kind of doing what we could in the meantime. We had to build a ditch through this patch because whenever it rained here, it would completely flood and destroy the gardening area. So every day, plants had to get a lot of water. Things were drying out a lot. And yeah, it took about a month to really start getting some decent harvests. We started getting salad greens, and that was in the end of September. We started harvesting a lot of salad. This community hasn't had to buy salad from that time on. We've been having huge bowls of salad every day for the community meal. Here I am in one of the only places I could really start working in this small shade tunnel. I was able to get some salad greens established, as well as some beets, carrots, peas, broccoli, radishes. It's actually truly amazing how much food that you can produce in such a short amount of time. Within just a few months, you can be bringing in a pretty good amount of your food needs, anywhere from a quarter to a third, depending on what time of the year you're getting started in. You can easily be producing your own salads and getting root vegetables right off the bat. So the idea was to create two big greenhouses and two smaller ones. And then we were going to try and grow summer crops all the way through the winter if we were able to find a way to heat these things. But unfortunately, it didn't exactly work out that way. So we were only really able to grow a lot of colder, hardier crops, with a few exceptions where I was able to get hot crops to stay alive. So we built a couple different kinds of greenhouses. One of them was a kit we ordered. These steel framed ones cost about $1,800 each. They're 14 feet by 100 feet. And then we also had our own design of a DIY smaller greenhouse, and those cost us about $700 to create. And so all along the process of creating this farm, there was a lot of a lot of problems that would come up, and we would have to kind of resolve them on the spot and come up with quick temporary solutions with the long term in mind. We did have some unexpected freezes at the end of October, which we had to protect with some temporary solutions. Um, these are some low tunnels, which are the most basic thing you can create. It's just some metal pipes that I bent and covered them with some sheets of plastic. And inside of them, we've been able to keep some salad and root vegetables alive all the way through 23-degree temperatures at the nighttime. So salad is definitely one of the easiest things you can produce. You can grow so much of it in such a small area. And it's kind of, in some ways, a good beginner's crop because it's kind of hard to mess up. I did a lot of experiments setting up this farm, given we were short on space. So I did a lot of intercropping and planting different vegetables along the sides and in between rows of bigger crops. So by doing this, I was able to maximize the space and produce 2 or 3 times as much food in the same area. So here we are in the first tunnel that I was able to get established. There's a wide variety of crops in here, from sweet peas to lettuce to carrots and beets, cilantro, butternut squash, even zucchini. And this is one of my favorite tasks here, going out and harvesting lettuce. So I think that people in general are waking up and realizing that it's time to change how we exist and how we interact with the earth. We no longer can let ourselves be governed by these giant corporations which own the food system, they own the land, they own all the natural resources which it takes to live. So I'm hoping that if I can learn how to produce my own food needs in a large enough supply that I can actually help feed a community of others. So not everyone has to be farming and gardening, but at least a small handful of us can be growing the food, and then we can supply that food to a larger community where other people here, they do many different things. There's a couple guys here who are on construction and maintenance, and they're building houses and taking care of the infrastructure here. And there's people who help run the business here. There's a big organic vegan foods business here where they make a lot of money and support this project. And so I think the future, it'll look more like this model that we're kind of pioneering here, where just 2 or 3 people spend most of their time growing food, feeding themselves, making sure there's a community that's well fed, and we're also simultaneously taking care of the environment. Because farming doesn't have to be this massive industrial endeavor where we use toxic chemicals and big machines to destroy the earth in the name of getting our food needs. So for me, this is really how we attain a new level of sovereignty and self-mastery. If we can organize and collect ourselves instead of being so segregated and fragmented and dependent on industry and corporations, we can band together and reclaim our humanness. Because this is what human life is truly about: working with nature, working with the elements, using your hands, creating this magical combination which produces everything you need. And so I think we'll start to see more of this in the future as things get worse and worse in the world. People are going to wake up, and to me, this is the exit. This is how we get out of this system. Not everyone has to be a farmer, but everyone needs to know a farmer. Farming is the most liberating activity in times like this where everything is shut down, where there's more and more restrictions on our life, this is the way we can get out and go back to a more sane and sustainable way of life. And so it truly is remarkable that in 2 or 3 months of time, you can have these kinds of systems set up and you can be feeding 15 or so people, not all of our food needs, but a good amount of it. Every day I'm harvesting buckets of food and bringing it to our kitchen where the cooks make use of it in different ways and everyone comes together in the afternoon for a shared meal. So one thing that I've tried to prioritize within the context of this operation is quick growing foods that are going to survive the winter, things that are full of nutrients, things that you can harvest multiple times, like greens. Sometimes you can get 5 or 6 multiple cuttings off of leafy green vegetables. And this isn't something that takes a full-time career. I have spent around 25 hours a week building this farm and maintaining it. So if there was a whole crew of people like me working on this, then yes, we could actually produce all of the food needs for this entire community. But so far this was kind of an experiment and we were sort of trialing things out to see if it was a good fit and to see which crops grow. You don't exactly know how things are going to respond to the environment, what kind of pests or disease issues might arise. And so I made an effort to do a little bit of everything and see what was going to work the best. And this initial phase of developing the farm, it's really crucial that you take the time and go slowly because these systems that you're setting up are something you have to work with on a daily basis. So wherever there's inefficiency, those extra steps, that extra waste, it adds up over time to creating something that is not productive and you don't like doing it. It becomes a chore, it becomes a drag because of those extra steps you're having to make. So I took the time and I put in the effort to keep things pretty organized. They're not perfect, but we've had a lot of success here. And that's because we went slow. We acted when it was time to act, and then we worked hard when we needed to, and then we took a break. We observed and we responded to how we saw things developing in the garden. So this is a key to having a successful operation. I'm hoping that after this project, eventually I'll be able to continue helping other people with land, different communities or different private individuals, helping them to become more self-sufficient. As far as I can tell, the most revolutionary activity right now is disconnecting ourselves from this corporate consumer society and engaging in something that's more creative, more productive, and not just trying to make money doing it or trying to monetize your talents, but actually just try and do something genuinely good for the world. And I think that kind of attitude really culminates in sustainable agriculture. This is a way we can take care of entire communities, and it actually rewires our brain to see all these plants growing, to see nature interacting. It changes our consciousness. So although we did use some tractors at the beginning of this, we tilled up the ground and we moved things around. After that, I've just been doing everything with basic hand tools. And after a few months, basically by November, we were getting pretty large harvests. We tried to time things up in a successive planting, so every few weeks we would plant different crops in small amounts in order to have a continuous supply. Right now it's the beginning of February, and since November we've been having a steady stream of a wide variety of different vegetables. Like I said, each week we come out here, we harvest buckets and buckets of fresh food, and we've been basically filling up a walk-in cooler and saving this community a lot of money. So I hope this is inspiring to people, that you can see what's possible, what you can do with just 3 months of time and thousands of dollars. If this was just the context of a family or a couple families, this would be well enough to feed themselves and potentially even make some money on the side selling it. So if anyone out there is inspired and wants to know more, or if anyone has land or knows someone with land, please feel free to contact me, and let's try and create this agrarian revolution together.